This is the Roborock Qrevo Edge S5A. I've been testing it in my home, and instead of starting with a big opinion, I'm simply going to walk you through every test I ran, what happened during each one, and the small moment that finally made me decide how I feel about this robot. So let's start with the setup. But first, if you are new to Clean Freak and Germaphobe, make sure to subscribe. We do lots of cleaning tips and cleaning product reviews just like this one. Let's start with unboxing and setup. Setting it up was pretty straightforward. The dock is on the larger side, but that's because it holds a clean water tank and a dirty water tank, an auto refill system for the onboard tank, and the self-emptying system for the dustbin. The robot connects to Wi-Fi, it paired quickly and stayed connected during all my testing. Once the robot was updated and ready, I wanted to take a closer look at something that matters a lot to me even before starting the first run, which is the underside. I flipped the robot over so you can see how everything is arranged. The dual mop spin pads that rotate at 200 RPM, they are liftable spinning pads for when they go over rugs or carpets. The duo divide main brush is centered, made to reduce tangling. The side brush, which extends outward to sweep in debris, the wheels, and the sensors are positioned around the edges for navigation and obstacle detection. After looking at the layout, the next thing I always check is the dustbin system. The dustbin inside the robot is easy to access, but you won't use it often because the dock empties it automatically. The dust bags inside the dock slides out cleanly without making a mess. Based on my home debris, a single dust bag should last anywhere from 30 to 60 days, depending on how often you run the robot and how much dirt and debris your house produces. Now, swapping the bag takes seconds. No complicated latches. Just pull, slide in a new one, and close the compartment. Now, with that done, I moved on to mapping. Starting mapping. The Edge S5A mapped my entire level quickly. Once the map was done, I labeled the rooms, set zones, and then saved a few routines to test later. The mapping was slick and easy. It worked just as expected. I'm going to start with the hair test because hair is a big issue in my house now. Between the dog and 3 long-haired girls with a combined hair length of 82 inches, hair collects everywhere. So I spread out long dried hair, shorter pieces, and a few damp strands in different areas, and then I let the robot run over them. The Edge S5A did a really great job at picking up all of the hair, even the wet strands. After inspecting the Duo Divide brush, I found no tangling. The damp strands were picked up instead of getting wrapped up, and the dock self-emptied the hair without clogging. I was really happy with the results. Next, I wanted to go with spills. I tested rice, oatmeal, chili powder, and a big spilled glass of water. The robot did a great job at picking up the bigger pieces of rice and oatmeal and also the really fine chili powder. Basically, it picked up everything with all of its passes. The spilled water mess was next, and the spin pads did a solid job mopping up all of the water effectively. The mopping pads did a really great job at picking up all the residues. So far, the scrubbing pads seem to be doing their job. I ran the robot through high traffic areas with dried spots, backsplash splatters, and everyday grime. When it returned to the dock, the mop pad went through a high temperature self-cleaning cycle and then a warm air drying. The pads came out noticeably cleaner and were completely dry once the cycle finished. The floors looked good and I didn't notice streaking. The mopping system appears effective and the self-cleaning cycle worked so well. There were no smells. Next, I tested how it did around area rugs. So the Edge S5A is listed with up to 18,500 PA suction and liftable spinning pads, and here's how it worked. As the robot approached the rug, the mop pads lifted automatically when the robot detected carpet, and I watched closely to see whether the rug stayed dry. The robot transitioned smoothly, climbing onto the rugs without hesitation, and the mop pad stayed lifted the entire time. Once the robot came off of the rug, the mop pads lowered and the spinning re-engaged. Meanwhile, my rug remained completely dry. Suction on the rugs, however, was very strong and pulled up hair and fine debris. I also wanted to test how well it cleaned edges and baseboards. I placed crumbs along the baseboard and in corners where dirt often collects. The robot used its flex arm side brush and the outward extending mop pads to reach the edges. You can see in this video here that the mop pad actually is touching the baseboard as it cleans that edge. The robot stayed close to the walls and removed the visible dust line. The corners looked noticeably cleaner. The edge performance honestly was better than what I've seen from most robot mops. Next, let's test obstacle avoidance. So I set up an obstacle course with toys, clothes, a sock, even a jigsaw, just to make it interesting. The robot navigated around them without stopping or dragging anything. Now it did get close and even nudged a couple of items, but didn't get tangled. My conclusion here is it did push a few items around the room, but ultimately didn't get stuck. So I'm happy with the results. Now I ran the robot at different times of the day to see how disruptive it would be. The robot is rated for up to 180 minutes of run time. This means that you could easily clean an entire level of a floor without it having to go back to charge. Now the noise level stayed low, even on vacuuming mode. My dog barely reacted to it. Let's talk about the dock for a second. So the dock has two large water tanks, one for clean water and one for dirty water. The clean water tank holds about 4 liters, which means it can refill the robot's onboard tank multiple times before you ever have to touch it. The dirty water tank is slightly smaller, about 3.5 liters, but still big enough that you won't be emptying it constantly. In daily use, this means the robot can run several full cleaning and mopping cycles before either tank needs attention. The size of these tanks is one of the reasons the whole system feels more hands-off. You spend less time refilling and emptying and more time letting the robot do its job. The Edge S5A has a low profile, measuring right about 4 inches tall, which is slimmer than many robotic vacuums in this category. And that height can actually matter. Low furniture, couches, and especially kitchen cabinets tend to trap dust because most robots simply can't fit underneath them. I personally hate reaching under my couch to find a remote and coming back with a handful of dust bunnies. So when I tested the clearance in my kitchen, I was genuinely relieved to see that this robot was sleek enough to slide fully under my cabinet toe kicks. With every other robot I've used, I've had to sweep under there first because none of them could reach it, but this one did. Your home may have slightly different measurements, but definitely check yours. But for me, the ability to fit under the low cabinetry, in fact, made all the difference. So after running it through every test, the hair, the dry spills, the mopping performance, the carpet transitions, the edge cleaning, the obstacle course, and the daily noise level, the Edge S5A handled everything consistently well. There wasn't a single category where I felt it really struggled, and it kept up with the real life messes in my home better than most robots I've tested. But the part that pushed it from a solid performer to a genuinely useful tool for me was the clearance, the ability to actually fit under low kitchen cabinets and clean out the dust I usually have to sweep by hand, made the overall experience even better. Most robots are just a little too tall to reach those areas, and I've always had to manually sweep under the cabinet toe kicks first. This one didn't need that extra step, and that made a noticeable difference in how clean my floor stayed between runs. So if you're interested in checking it out, I've included links in the video description, and right now for Black Friday, it is $450 off. So this might be the best time of the year to grab yours if you've been thinking about getting one. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to Clean Freak and Germaphobe. And if you want more real life cleaning tests in a real home with real messes, I will link to our playlist right here. I hope you enjoyed this review, and thanks for watching.